Scott Hahn on cremation, and I have all your emails. I'll send it to you. You can watch it at your leisure. I might have it here at the end. I might be able to show it at the end. So I'm going to move on here because we'd like to be very respectful of your time. I'm talking about giving back and estate planning prep. And I'm going to go back and forth between how you give back your money, what that looks like, because some of us like to do it and some of us don't. I'm one of the guys that doesn't always like to do it. But and then I'm going to jump back and forth on some estate planning. It's going to be very, very fast. I do want to just show you this slide first, though, see if this works. Yeah. Working with Father Im for the last 3 years, every time I'm with him, whether it's a private meeting or a meeting with a group of people, he always has one goal. What can we do to help everyone in our pastorate get to heaven? Us, our families, you, your families. That's why he asked me for help to organize the seminar. That's the reason right there. Okay, so I just want to say that I'm going to give a disclaimer. I used to be in the investment business, and I would give 2-3 hour seminars and just touch the surface. This is going to be 20 minutes. So I'm going to have a very high level view. But I do want you to know that I'm available to visit with at any time with a one-on-one to answer further questions. I can't answer all your questions. I don't have a license anymore. I can't give you bad advice. I can't give you advice, but it might be bad. But my point is that I can help direct you in the way you might need to go with some of your financial questions and help you get answers. So I'd be happy to do that for any of you. Help you find what you need and facilitate that. Greed is a terrible sin. It's a vice, the opposite of the virtue charity. And I have to say that that's a big sin for me, avarice and greed. We're going to talk about we're going to keep kind of going back to greed. Why do we hold on to our money? Why don't we give it away, before we die or when we die? How's that going to look? It is a tough thing to talk about, but everyone looks at money differently. So some of us save more, some of us spend more. Some of us have more money in the bank, some of us don't. Some of us want to keep it, some of us want to give it away. Some of us want to give it to our children, some of us don't. I had a client come in one time, and he was pretty wealthy, married, kids were older. And I said, hey, have you thought about giving any of your money away to charity? Wait, he said, Jim. He said, if I have any money left over when I die, I've miscalculated. That actually happened, right? So he was over here. Then you have people that are over here that are always giving their money away. And all of us are somewhere in between that. We're all so different. And you know what? A lot of it has to do with security. What do we need for our security? Everyone has a different idea about that. How you grew up, what your history is. Did you have any money growing up? Did your parents suffer because they were poor? Whatever. And the person you're sitting by, your spouse, had a different experience than you did. So one of the main reasons for marital problems is money, right? How can you give it away? How can you agree to that? So I'm going to try and give you an idea on maybe what we can do to help you feel comfortable with giving money to your church, to Clarity Clinic, to your favorite organization. No matter what position you're in, though, no matter how much money you have or don't have, the requirement from God is the same, and that's this. Jesus said to him, if you wish to be perfect, go sell what you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. Whether you have a little money or a lot of money, it's the same directive. And it goes on. You can read all the saints through time talk about money. Some people say that money and wealth isn't bad in itself. It's only bad if you love it more than God. Usually, I found those are the really rich Protestant preachers, right? Because that really isn't true either, I don't think. Charity is that which no man is lost and without which no man is saved. St. Augustine says, God has no need of your money, but the poor have. You give to the poor and God receives it. St. Thomas Aquinas says, charity is the form, mover, mother, and the root of all virtues. I'm not going to read all these. I'm going to read two of them. St. John Chrysostom says, he who spends more than he needs is a thief. I'm at the top of that. St. Francis of Assisi says, money is a kind of dung, which if you spread it around, it makes things grow, but if you pile it up, it stinks. Right? All right, but it's easier said than done to give your money away. It isn't easy for most of us. It certainly isn't easy for me. As a financial advisor, though, I found that most of the clients that came in really didn't have a handle on their money situation. They weren't sure how much money they were spending every month. They weren't sure of all their income. They just didn't know for sure. And from that uneasiness, I think that you're less likely to give. At least I am. I like to have that security to know exactly what's there, how long it's going to last. They'll say, hey, I can give this chunk away, right? So my goal here tonight is to help alleviate some of that insecurity through the process of knowing more about your money so that you might be able to give more of it away because you'll have knowledge and trust in what you have left over. But you know what? Does that really matter? Does it really matter? This rope, if you've seen this as an analogy, is a timeline. Okay? This is a timeline. Okay? And I'm going to have you please watch this video and we'll go from here.
Now imagine that this rope is a timeline of your existence. You just exist forever. You see this red part? This would represent your time on Earth. You've got a few short years here on Earth, and then you've got all of eternity somewhere else. And what blows me away is some of you, all you think about is this red part. You go, oh man, I can't wait till here. You know, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to save so I can really enjoy this part right here. And you're consumed with that. You're thinking, oh man, am I going to get to travel? Am I going to eat well? Am I going to do this during this part? And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's crazy to me because the Bible teaches that what I do during this little red part determines how I'm going to exist for millions and millions and millions of years forever.
Isn't that the truth? We're all worried about this red part, and we're not worried about that. And it goes on and on and on. Right? It's eternity. Maybe we should worry more about the rest of the rope. So what does that look like? Oh, there we go. So what I'm suggesting is that if we have a really good grasp of our financial picture, it results in a better understanding and knowledge and trust of what our future looks like, and we can make better financial decisions. And when I say better financial decisions, I mean give it some of it away. Right? What does it look like to gather this information? And I'm going to go through these really quickly. These are the things that a financial advisor will do, and I'll give you have a list of the financial advisors in your that work with each of the parishes. I think there are 5 of them that hold the endowments through your maybe your church, or might have your general funds. So they're in there. I can help you with these answers as well, and then help you get answers further on. But I'm going to go through these really fast so we can get to the question and answer, because I think there's more questions on the funeral and the cremation. So we need to know what net worth is. If you haven't had a financial statement or a balance sheet, you should have one. You update it annually to track trend changes in certain areas. Now, some of us are at different ages in our retirement. Some of you haven't retired yet. A lot of us have. So some of these questions maybe aren't as pertinent, but it's the same thing we need to get a handle. Cash flow. How much money do you spend per year? Do you track that amount for changes on an annual basis? Do you know the impact that spending 20 or 10 or 5,000 more than you planned will have on your retirement plan? Income sources. Do you utilize an IRA, a Roth IRA, or brokerage account for income in our retirement? Do you have a pension plan or a retirement plan? Are you taking money out of those? Have you reviewed your Social Security statement for accuracy? If you haven't retired yet, do you know when you should take your Social Security? Have you done a break-even analysis? All these are questions that should be answered by your financial advisor or someone helping you. Distributions. Have you reviewed your distribution options on your employer-sponsored retirement plan? If you have a retirement plan or a pension, same thing. When should you take your pension? If you have a pension, have you identified how much that pension will increase if you're still working and you work a few extra years? And have you determined the impact of your RMDs will have on your taxable income in retirement? By the way, our recommended minimum distributions in your IRA, if you have money to give, is a great way to give it because you're not taxed on that. Okay, let's go back to eternity. We just were in this red part. Let's go back to the rest of eternity with who I love this guy. You all know who he is, Fulton Sheen.
In our contemporary civilization, there happens to be a coincidence. First of all, a great material prosperity, and at the same time, a tremendous amount of inner and mental discontent. We ought not to have this tragic sense of life with so much prosperity. Why is it? Certainly is not because we're prosperous. It can only be because, to a great extent, we are assuming that all we need to be happy is some external prosperity. In other words, we made our philosophy a philosophy of having, rather than a philosophy of being. What we're trying to do with our soul and our heart was made for the infinite of life, truth, and love. We are attempting to pull this infinite down into our finite structure with all of its material environment. It simply cannot be done. Rather, what we should do is be happy in the midst of prosperity, to take this finite nature of ours, plunge it into the infinite.
Take this finite nature of ours and plunge it into the infinite, is what he says. His quote is this, out of Justice and Charity by Fulton Sheen: "The precept of charity teaches the rich that they are but stewards of wealth, and that they have the necessity of being detached from their wealth out of love for the poor." This is a great book by Fulton Sheen, and there is an article, one page, one side, must read in your file there. Okay, let's get back to the red part here, this little part, 70 years or 80 years or 60 years, whatever it is. Taxes. Do you review your taxes thoroughly every year? Is your financial advisor helping you implement tax strategies that complement your overall financial gain? Do you utilize tax advantage accounts? Do you understand the current and future tax implications? Are you eligible to make a Roth IRA contribution? Do you know your current effective tax rate? Have you projected where your taxable income will be in retirement when wages incomes go away? This is so much information that once you know all of this, you can make better decisions. Have you projected what your required minimum distributions are? Do you have an annuity? Do you know what the fees and riders are those on the annuities? And do you know what income options you have on those annuities? Do you have investments? Are they aggressive? Are they moderate or conservatively invested if you have investments? What's your stock to bond ratio? Do you know the exact dollar amount you pay in fees annually? Do you compare the returns against the benchmark on an annual basis? Okay, what really matters? Is it the next 10 years or eternity? This is Chris Stefanik, great young Catholic speaker. If you ever get a chance to listen to him, you should. He's going to talk about 3 ways to fight greed, 1 minute long.
Yeah, human beings, that includes you, have a natural tendency to just love luxury. And they love it so much that we'll use people who have money to get luxury, and that will exploit the poor to get luxury if we don't check our souls. Sacred scripture tells us to be on guard against greed. No, not that other guy. You. And even people who have very little. I know people who work with the homeless. And there's such a system of people using one another among the homeless and manipulating one another. This is part of your nature. God gives us 3 simple things to do to keep that in check, to resist our incessant love of comfort and self-centeredness. And it's prayer, fasting, meaning giving up those worldly comforts in the form of food, and almsgiving. Give away some of the money you've earned to help people who are in need. It's amazing how to fix.
Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. A couple more fiduciary questions. Do you know the fees and expenses in your portfolio? Do you know your current asset allocation? Do you have a written plan for income for the rest of your life? Is there something, if something happened to you yesterday, where would your assets go? That's the biggest question for most of us in this room. Who's going to get them? Do you have life insurance? This is important because do you have cash value built up in that life insurance? Do you know if that life insurance is going to lapse or not if you don't continue to pay it, if you have a policy? And have you requested an in-force illustration to determine if surrendering or keeping the policy is the most intelligent decision? I think this might be my last estate planning slide. Do you have a will or a trust? Big deal for us in this room. Will your estate avoid probate? If you don't have a will or a trust, it's not going to avoid probate. And the lawyers are going to get some of it. Do you know how your property is currently titled? Okay. Does it have a transfer on death on it? So it goes immediately to someone, to your, okay? And if your parents are still alive, do you know how their property is titled and will it avoid probate? So those are the things that we look at to list the specific personal financial information for each of you. That gives us better results and understanding and knowledge and trust about our situation. And hopefully we can make better financial decisions after that because we know that maybe we are more secure than we thought we were. And we can give away more money than we thought we were. If we figure out what we have, we figure out what we need, we can figure out how much we can give away. Now, everybody, as I said at the beginning, has a different idea about that. Some of us have to have that security to know, have to know these numbers to feel good about giving away some of our money. My mother-in-law isn't like that. Okay? Maybe many of you know her. She grew up in a large family on a farm. She had 8 children. They had a wonderful life. My wife, they had a wonderful childhood, and she was a wonderful mother, but she didn't need much. She came into some money a few years back from a relative, quite substantial for her. What did she do? She gave it away. Didn't even think about it. We're saying, no, don't give it all away. Anyway, that's really trusting. I hope to be there someday, right? Don't we all? Okay, one last video. This might be the most important that's talking about eternity here, okay? And this is Dr. Tim Gray. Now, most of you, let me get this first quick. Personal financial statement, cash flow analysis, retirement calculator, Social Security break-even, life insurance analysis, tax projection, estate planning, investments. We know those things. Maybe we can do that last one. Okay? This is Dr. Tim Gray. He is unbelievable. If you've never listened to him, he helped develop Formed, which is all of you can get through your parish. It's a website that gives great content. He's the president of the Augustine Institute. And this is what he says. He's also a very astute, very strong biblicist. I think that's what you would call him. He knows the Bible inside and out, and he gives daily reflections. This is his reflection on August 4th, which was apropos.
Parable about a man who had great, harvest. He built huge storage farms. He stored up a lot for himself for years to come. He had more than enough. And then death comes to him, and all that more than enough, all that he stored up is squandered, wasted. It benefits him nothing. Where's the wisdom in this, though? Right? Is this vanity inevitable as Koheleth saw it? No, Jesus responds. He says, it'll be for all who store up wealth for themselves will find vanity. But, Jesus says, but for those who, it's vanity for those who store up wealth for themselves and are not rich in what matters to God. So what matters to God is what we give, not what we get. And so that man who built these extra storage barns, he wasted that wealth because he didn't share it. He didn't give it away. And so the truth that Jesus is showing us is if we want to really be rich, we need to be rich in terms of treasure in heaven. And the only way to have treasure in heaven is to give away what we have on earth before death takes us. It's easy to give it away when we die in our will. But here's the challenge that Jesus has given us in the gospel. What are you going to give away before you die? That is what matters, because that's where the treasure in heaven is accrued. He doesn't say you store up treasure in your will, but you store up treasure in what you give while you're alive. Giving while living is what Jesus is challenging us today. Let's think about that and how we think about our giving.
Giving while living. Wow. Tim Gray says to fight against vanity and to get to the kingdom of heaven, he says it, but really Jesus says this, we must give away our possessions before we die and not in our will. That was a tough one for me. Okay, there's a lot of loose ends here, right? I went over a lot of things, and I'll help anybody that wants to do a one-on-one, to help find out what we talked about, to delve into that a little bit more on a personal basis. But I'm calling you to action. If you've been thinking about giving something away, do it. You have a fund that you have sitting there, you didn't know what you're going to do with, give it away. Give it to the church, give it to Father. He's got places he can use it, right? Okay? Or if you just don't feel that comfortable with doing that, you'd like to give me a call or give your financial advisor a call. They can help you work some of these questions out so you can get a better handle if you don't have that handle. Okay, let's go over some. Oh, this is an awesome. The only thing a dead man holds in his hands are the things he gave away. Wow. Okay. These are everything in your folder. Father's cell phone for questions and confession, church phone numbers, funeral homes, financial advisors, one-on-one meeting contact with me. Now and at the hour of our death booklet. Okay, power of attorney for finances. There's a power of attorney for health. They look very similar, but you have to really look at like the bottom where it says state of Wisconsin, determine which one is which. The Catholic addendum to the Wisconsin POA for health is the one that has to go along with this one. They have to go together. We want that one, and that's the one that says see addendum, or Father said see attached. Catholic authorization for the final disposition instructions. Catholic burial traditions handout, that's the 8-page, it's pink. It really walks you through planning a funeral. I don't think it misses anything. That came from Damien. Catholic cemeteries information, that's his talk. The must read, that short excerpt from Bishop Fulton Sheen's Justice and Charity. It's a 1-page, one side. The discovery checklist. If you go to a financial advisor or you come to me, you'll need to gather that information before. That's really important if you're going to take the next step in seeing what your financial picture looks like for sure. And then there's advanced gifting options, which is just 6 or 7 ways to give back, but we can get into more detail in a one-on-one if you have any questions with your financial advisor. Okay, it's been a pleasure to be here. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you discuss the advantages and the disadvantages of having a trust?
Yeah, the only advantage of having a trust, in my opinion, at this point, if you have a transfer on death deed on your home and you don't have a lot of other properties, is distributing your wealth to your children at different times. That's the best thing, the best reason to have a trust. If let's say you had children that weren't really good with money, and they were younger children, you wanted to give certain percentage of your wealth to them over a period of time, you could direct that in a trust, which you cannot do in a will. That make sense? Yeah. Some people need trust, some people don't. Until until a person knows their financial situation for sure, that helps determine that. Okay. Any other questions for Damien too? He's still here. Okay. No questions. Thanks. Nice to be with you tonight. Yeah. Well, Father was going to lead us in prayer, but did he skip out? Oh.